I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, with my life unraveling like this, over something as stupid as a video call. My wife, Lisa, and I had been together for about 4 years. Things weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. She's the typical smart-ass blonde, kind of bitchy, always quick with a sarcastic comment, but she had a good heart underneath it all. Or at least I used to think so. She's a writer, not famous or anything, just publishing her own little books and trying to make it in the literary world. That meant a lot of late nights at her laptop, a lot of revisions and endless Zoom calls with her editor, Mark. Mark was this smooth-talking guy, probably in his early 40s, with a charm that Lisa always found attractive. At first, I didn't think much of it. Writers talk shop, right? But then I noticed she started being defensive when I asked about her meetings, and she'd get this weird look whenever her phone buzzed. I told myself I was just paranoid, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The signs were there. She'd stay out later than usual always, with some excuse about final edits or meeting with Mark, but I caught her lying about where she was going. She'd say she was grocery shopping, then I'd find her late at night locking herself in the bedroom with her laptop. I'd hear muffled giggles, see her smirk when she thought I wasn't looking. I tried to ignore it, keep my head down, but I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling that I was being played. Then came the final straw. I was working late myself, trying to finish some project, when I decided to rewatch some of the Zoom calls Lisa had sent me for notes. She's always been obsessed with her writing, and she loved showing off her work. I normally just skimmed through, but that night I decided to listen carefully. Somewhere in the middle of a call, I caught a moment that didn't sit right. There was Lisa, smiling and talking to Mark about her book, but then her tone changed. She started laughing a little too much at something Mark said, a joke or a tease, I guess. I paused the recording, rewound, and played it again. That's when I noticed her voice change. It wasn't just friendly banter. It was flirtatious, intimate even. They were joking about sex, about how good she felt with him and how Mark knew all her secret spots. My stomach dropped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My wife sitting there on a work call talking about a guy like that. I felt sick. I kept watching, and then I saw her lean closer into the camera, whispering something I couldn't hear, but her face was flushed, her eyes a little glassy. That's when I realized this wasn't just about work. They were messing around. I don't know how I managed to stay quiet after that. My mind was racing. I felt betrayed, angry, humiliated. How many nights had I gone to bed thinking I was married to a woman who loved me? How many times had I trusted her? And now I knew. I knew that she'd been lying, cheating, hiding this affair right under my nose while I was oblivious. That night I sat there in the dark, replaying the recordings, trying to process what I just heard. It felt like a punch in the gut, like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I didn't confront her immediately. Part of me needed to breathe to figure out what I was going to do, but I knew this was over. The trust, the sense of security I had in my marriage shattered. The worst part, I knew my wife, Lisa. She'd deny everything, lie her way out of it, act like I was accusing her of some bullshit. She was good at that. She always had a quick tongue, a way of twisting things around, making herself the victim. But I had the proof now. That was the thing. I had the recording, I had the evidence. I've never felt so blindsided in my life. All those memories of us together, the good times, the fights, the plans for the future, everything suddenly felt like a lie. I was furious but also heartbroken. I kept asking myself how I missed all of this. How could she do this to me, to us? I wanted to punch something, scream, cry, all at once. I thought about confronting her right then, but I knew I needed to think carefully. If I was going to do this, I had to do it right. I had to have a plan. So here I am, sitting in my living room, writing this out because I don't know what else to do. I feel like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, not knowing whether I should jump or turn back. Every instinct in me screams to rip her apart, to ruin her, to make her feel the hurt she's given me. But part of me also just wants to leave, walk away, and forget everything. I've got to decide what's next, and honestly, I have no idea. After I finished watching those recordings, I felt like I was hit by a freight train. My mind was racing, trying to process what I'd just heard. Lisa, sitting there on her stupid call, teasing Mark about how good she felt with him. laughing about secret nights, about the sex she was having behind my back. It was like finding out she'd been lying about everything, our plans, her late nights, her business trips, all some cover for her little affair. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly furious. I wanted to do something, anything, but I knew I had to be smart. About it, I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do next. My first instinct was to confront her immediately, to demand answers. But I knew if I did that without a plan, it would only blow up in my face. Lisa's the kind of person who thinks she can lie her way out of anything, who can spin stories and manipulate her way around consequences. I needed to be prepared, to catch her in the act, or at least have something concrete to show her. So I waited. I waited until the next morning before I even brought it up. I didn't want to do it when she was still groggy or angry. I needed her to be alert, to see that I wasn't bluffing. I started by asking about her night, about her meeting with Mark. She rolled her eyes, scoffing, and threw out some bullshit about working late, final edits, and Mark being a good mentor. I pressed her, and she started to get defensive right away, calling me paranoid and insecure. Typical Lisa, quick to dismiss, quick to accuse me of mistrust. But I didn't buy it. I had the recordings, remember. I pulled out my laptop, started playing the clip I'd saved. Her face paled when she saw me doing it. I could tell she knew she was caught. She started stammering, trying to deny it, claiming it was just work, that Mark was like a brother. But I cut her off. I told her I'd seen everything, that I knew about the sex, about the flirting, about the nights she was with him. That's when the real fireworks started. She got bitchy, of course. Started calling me insecure, jealous, even paranoid. Said I was overreacting, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. She tried to lie her way through it, said they were just friends, that Mark was just helping her with her book. But her face told a different story. Her voice cracked and her eyes darted around. She was lying, and she knew it. I could see the guilt, the panic all over her. That moment I realized her confidence was cracking. She thought she could get away with it, but now she saw I wasn't stupid. I felt a mix of anger and disgust. How could she do this? After everything we'd been through, she's out there screwing some guy she met on the internet, lying to my face about it. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but I held it in. I just looked at her and said, "How long has this been going on?" She shrugged, trying to brush it off, but I saw her eyes flicker. She knew she was cornered. In that moment, I realized I had two choices. I could lose my shit and blow up everything, yell, break things, scream accusations. Or I could stay calm, get the facts straight, and decide what to do next. I chose the latter. I told her I needed space, that I'd think about everything. I didn't want to talk anymore. I just wanted to get out of that house, clear my head, and decide what was more important, revenge or moving on. That night I slept like shit. I kept replaying everything, trying to understand how I'd been so blind, so trusting. I was angry at her, but also hurt, deeply hurt. I kept asking myself why she'd do this, what I'd done wrong, if there was any way to fix this mess. But deep down, I knew the truth. Lisa didn't care about us. She was cheating, lying, and probably had been for months. I wasn't sure if I could forgive her or even if I wanted to, but I knew I'd have to make a decision soon. The next day, I started making plans. I couldn't stay in that house, not with her anymore. I needed to get my things together, figure out what to say, what to do. I also knew I had to prepare myself for whatever she might do or say when I confronted her again. She's manipulative, a real master at twisting words and turning the blame around. If I was going to end this, I had to be ready for her typical lies, her accusations, her tantrums. Honestly, I felt like I was in some terrible movie, a man betrayed, blindsided by the woman he loved. But I also realized that this might be the best thing that ever happened to me. I'd been blind to who she really was, and now I saw her for what she was. A liar, a cheat, someone I could trust anymore. The pain is still fresh, but I know I have to move forward. I just don't know exactly how yet. All I know is this isn't over, not by a long shot. The confrontation itself didn't happen exactly as I expected, mostly because Lisa's reactions are always unpredictable. I called her into the living room, trying to keep my voice even, but my hands shook. I wanted her to see I wasn't playing around anymore. When she walked in, with that smirk she always wears, like she's somehow still in control, I could feel my blood boiling. She was acting like I was overreacting, like I was just some jealous husband making a scene over nothing. I laid the laptop open on the coffee table with the clip playing. Her face froze for a second, her eyes darting toward the screen. Then she started her usual bullshit. "It's not what you think," she said, rolling her eyes. "That's just some stupid work banter. You're paranoid. You always jump to conclusions." She crossed her arms, trying to look annoyed, but the trembling in her voice betrayed her. I cut her off. I told her I'd seen her talking about the sex she's been having, about how good Mark makes her feel, how she enjoys the secret nights. Her face contorted, this mix of anger and defiance, like she thought she could talk her way out of it. "Oh, please," she snapped. "You're making this bigger than it is. Mark's just a friend, and I was talking about my book. You're overreacting because you're insecure." That's her favorite line. Anytime she gets caught, she flips the script and tries to make me the crazy one. I told her I didn't believe her anymore, that I knew she'd been lying for months. I pointed out the missed calls, the late nights, the unexplained absences. Her eyes flared and she tried to act innocent, like I was the one doing something wrong. She called me jealous, said I didn't trust her, that I was imagining things, but I had proof. I played the recording again just to drive the point home. Her reaction was priceless. She looked panic-stricken, like she'd been caught in a trap. That's when she started her typical bullshit, trying to gaslight me. She said, "You're crazy, Mike. You always think the worst. Maybe you're the one." Cheating, huh? I was stunned. I looked at her and said, "Are you seriously accusing me of cheating? After everything, you're calling me a liar." She smirked, but I saw the flicker of guilt gone wild in her eyes. She knew she'd been caught, but her instinct was still to lie her way out. I told her I wanted her to pack her things, that I wasn't going to stay in a house with a cheating wife. Her face turned into this bitchy sneer. "Fine," she spat. "If you want to play the victim, go ahead. But you're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this." I could tell she was trying to turn the tables, make me feel guilty like she always does when she's cornered, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I was done with her lies, her manipulations. As she stormed out, calling me crazy and possessive, I felt a strange mix of relief and pain. Relief because I finally knew, truly knew, what kind of person she was. Pain because I loved her, or at least I thought I did. And now I had to face the reality that everything was a lie. I kept replaying the video, the conversations, and I kept asking myself how I'd missed all of this, how I'd been so blind. That night I sat alone, staring at the empty walls, feeling the weight of everything. I thought about the good times, the bad times, all the promises she'd broken. I was angry at her, sure, but mostly I was hurt that I'd trusted her so completely. I thought about what to do next. I knew I couldn't stay in that house, not with her. A part of me wanted revenge. A part of me wanted to rip her apart, but another part just wanted to disappear, forget all of this, and start over. I started making a list of what to do. I needed to get my things, find a place to stay, and figure out what my next move was. I also knew I needed to be prepared for her to try to lie her way out again, to guilt-trip me into staying. She's good at that. Manipulation runs in her veins. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken, but I also didn't want to be weak. I had to stand tall, even if inside I felt like crumbling. On my mind now is this question: do I confront her again, try to salvage what's left? Or do I just walk away, leave everything behind? I can't help but think about the future, about how I'll never be able to trust her again, and that makes me feel sick. I've lost my respect for her, but I also realize I've lost myself a little in the process. It's like I was a fool for believing in the fairy tale. Now I have to decide whether to fight for what's rightfully mine or just walk away and pick up the pieces of what's left of me. The days that followed were a blur. I spent most of my time packing up my essentials, trying to keep my head clear, but honestly I was a mess inside. Every little thing reminded me of her, her perfume on my shirts, the notes she left on the fridge, the way she used to laugh at her own stupid jokes. It all felt like a cruel joke now. I was angry, but mostly I was hurt. I kept replaying that video, that moment. Caught her talking about Mark, about how much she enjoyed their secret nights, the sex. I couldn't get it out of my head. The fact that she thought she could get away with it, that she could lie to my face and then sit there, smirking, as if she was the one in control. That was what cut the deepest. She had no shame, no remorse. Just that bitchy smirk that made me want to strangle her. I knew I had to make a move, but I wasn't sure what. Part of me wanted to smash her car windows, scream at her in her face, tell her what a bitch she really was. Another part just wanted to disappear, leave everything behind. But I knew I couldn't run from this. The betrayal was too raw, too real. I decided I'd have to confront her again, face the music, and get some final answers. One thing was clear. I couldn't stay in that house with her anymore. It had become a prison, full of memories I couldn't stomach. I booked a cheap hotel downtown and started organizing what I'd take with me. My mind kept circling back to the recordings, too. What I now knew for sure. She lied so many times, spun stories, played the victim when she was the one cheating. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore, and honestly, I didn't want to. The next day, I decided to go back to the house. She was there, acting like everything was fine, that fake, I'm innocent act she always pulls. I called her into the living room again, and I felt a strange calm come over me, like I was finally ready to face her head on. I played the recordings again just to remind her I had everything on tape. Her face twisted into something between fury and panic. She knew she was cornered. "I want the truth," I said. "No more lies. How long has this been going on? How many nights have you been with Mark?" Her eyes darted around and she tried her usual deflecting tactics, calling me insecure, accusing me of spying, even crying fake tears. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I'd seen enough. I told her I didn't want to hear any more BS. Either she came clean or I was done. And that's when she snapped. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're just jealous because I don't want your boring ass anymore. Mark is just a friend and you're overreacting." I saw right through her, the lies, the bullshit about just friends, all of it. I said, "That's bullshit. I've got the recordings. I know you're sleeping with him, and I want you out of my house." Her face turned red and she started screaming about how I was ruining her life, how she'd never loved me, how I was a control freak. I felt nothing but disgust. I realized I'd been a fool for so long, believing her lies, trusting her. I told her she could pack her things and leave that night. She yelled, threw her phone across the room, and stormed out, muttering curses. I just sat there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling a strange mixture of relief and despair. This was the end of us, at least I hoped so. In the days after, I kept replaying everything in my head. The betrayal cut deep, but I also felt free for the first time in years. I wasn't going to let her drag me down anymore. I knew I had to pick myself back up, rebuild my life, and learn from this nightmare. I kept thinking about how she lied, how she manipulated, and I realized I'd been blind to the real her all along. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I also knew I had to be careful moving forward. Lisa's the kind of person who'd try to come back, act innocent, and make me feel guilty for everything. I'd seen her in action too many times. So I decided to cut ties, block her on everything, and focus on myself. It's been tough, no doubt. There are moments when I feel angry, moments when I cry because I miss the woman I thought she was. But mostly I feel a strange sense of clarity. I've learned that no matter how much you love someone, if they cheat and lie, they're no longer part of your life. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. I'll never forget the feeling of betrayal, but I also know that I'll survive. I've got to rebuild my confidence, trust my instincts, and protect myself from people who do deserve my love. That's what this has taught me, to listen to my gut and never ignore the signs before they ruin everything. It's been a few weeks now since I kicked Lisa out, and honestly, it's been a roller coaster. Some days I feel stronger, like I've finally taken control of my life again. Other days, the pain hits me out of nowhere. I catch myself thinking about her, about the many lies, about the nights she spent with Mark, and it's like a punch in the chest all over again. But those moments are fewer, and I'm gradually learning to breathe through them. The hardest part isn't just losing her, it's accepting that I was so blind and trusting for so long. I keep thinking about all the signs I ignored, all the little things that should have tipped me off. The secretive phone calls, the late nights, the way she always had a quick answer when I asked about her whereabouts. I was so in love, so eager to believe she was who she said she was. And now, that trust has been shattered to pieces. I've been talking to some friends, mostly guys who have been through similar crap. And they keep telling me I dodged a bullet. That's what I keep telling myself too. I remind myself that I deserve someone who is honest, faithful, and not a compulsive liar. Still, it's hard not to feel some kind of failure, like I somehow screwed up for not seeing it sooner. But I guess love makes you blind sometimes, especially when you want to see only the good in someone. I've started seeing a counselor to help me process everything. It's weird going over the details, reliving those moments of betrayal, but it's necessary. I need to understand how I got here, how I let her manipulate me for so long. The counselor says I need to forgive myself, that I didn't do anything wrong. Lisa's the one who lied, who cheated. That's a tough pill to swallow, but I try to hold on to it. She also told me I should focus on myself, on rebuilding my confidence and trust in people again. One thing I've realized is that I've got to cut out any contact with Lisa. No texts, no calls, no social media stalking. I've blocked her number, her social media profiles, everything. I don't want her to creep back into my life or try to guilt me into taking her back. I'm done. That woman was a snake in the grass, and I have to accept that she's not part of my future anymore. I've been trying to keep busy, going to the gym, reconnecting with friends, throwing myself into work projects. It's not easy. Every now and then, I catch myself thinking about the good times we had, and it stings. But I try to remind myself that those moments were fake, built on lies and deception. The real Lisa was hiding behind that bitchy smile, pretending everything was fine while she was screwing around with Mark. I also started dating again, just casually. Nothing serious, but it's helping to rebuild my confidence. It's weird getting back out there after all this, but I realize I deserve someone who truly cares. Someone who's honest and loyal. I don't want to carry this baggage forever, but I know I'll carry the lessons with me. The biggest lesson: trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. And never let someone treat you like you're disposable. Sometimes I get angry at her for how she betrayed me. Other times, I just feel sadness for what could have been. I used to think Lisa was my soulmate, but now I see she was just a liar in disguise. I have to accept that I was naive, that I loved her too much to see the truth. But I also know that I can't go back. I've lost her, but I've gained clarity. The truth is, I'm tired of the lying games, the drama, the betrayal. I want peace. I want to rebuild what I lost, piece by piece, and learn to trust again. I know it's going to take time, but I'm determined to heal and move on. Because at the end of the day, I realize I'm better off without someone who lies so easily, who manipulates and cheats. I deserve honesty, respect, something Lisa never gave me. So I'll keep working on myself. I'll keep moving forward, even if the wound still stings sometimes. Because I know now that this heartbreak is just a chapter, not the end. And someday, I believe I'll look back at this and be thankful I finally saw the truth. That's what I'm holding on to, hope that someday I'll be whole again, stronger than ever, without the betrayal eating at me every day. It's funny how life throws you into these kind of storms when you least expect it. One day, I was living what I thought was a stable, happy marriage. The next, I was standing in the wreckage of everything I believed in. At first, I felt like I was drowning, overwhelmed by betrayal and regret. But as the weeks went on, something shifted. I started to see things more clearly. I realized that her cheating, her lies, were a reflection of who she was, not who I am. I kept asking myself why I stayed so long, why I ignored the signs, but I know now that love can make you blind. The truth is, I loved her. I wanted to believe in us, in the life we built. But now I see that love isn't enough when someone is fundamentally dishonest. You have to have respect, trust, and integrity, things she didn't have. I learned that revenge isn't the point, even though I felt it burning inside me at first. I had the urge to confront her again, to make her feel as bad as she made me feel. But I realized that the best revenge is simply moving on and building a better life without her. I don't need to destroy her. I just need to walk away and prove to myself that I am stronger than the pain she caused. Now I focus on me. I go to therapy, work out, reconnect with my friends, and rediscover who I am outside of her shadow. I've started dating again, cautiously but with a new sense of self-awareness. I don't rush into anything. I take my time, making sure I don't fall into old patterns. I know now that I won't be blinded again. I'll listen to my instincts, trust my gut, and never ignore the red flags. There's still a part of me that feels pain, that's haunted by what she did. But that pain is also a reminder. A reminder that I deserve better, that I'm worth more than someone who cheats and manipulates. Every day is a step forward, even if some days feel like two steps back. The process of healing isn't linear, and that's okay. What matters is I keep going. Looking back, I'm grateful I found out when I did. It hurt like hell, but it also freed me. It forced me to face reality and take control of my life. I don't hate her, I just feel sorry for her, honestly. Because anyone who can betray someone so deeply isn't someone I want in my life anymore. I've learned that sometimes the worst pain leads to the greatest growth. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone who's reading this, it's this: trust yourself. When something doesn't feel right, pay attention to that little voice inside. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how much you want to believe in the best, because the truth always comes out eventually. And when it does, you'll have a choice: stay in the wreckage or pick up the pieces and rebuild. Today, I choose to rebuild and move forward. I'm not perfect and I still carry scars, but I'm stronger than I've ever been. Life will throw its punches, but I've learned to stand tall, knowing that I deserve honesty and respect. That's what this has taught me, that sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself again. And honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. Because now, I finally see the world for what it is, and I'm ready to face it on my own terms.